What, according to you, defines a good sleep?
Snoring, that means I'm sleeping well.
Yeah.
It means I'm
Exactly.
he's a good sleeper because he snores. No, there is nothing more sexy than a man who doesn't snore.
Tossing, turning, snoring, or waking up tired. Why does it happen and what will be the solution?
Only use your bed as a place to sleep. If you're lying there tossing and turning, get out of bed because you're training your body that bed is the place where I don't sleep.
What happens when we don't sleep for a day or two?
We sometimes wear poor sleep like a badge of honor. I
Yes.
only need 3 hours. I only need 4 hours and I'm fine. One poor night of sleep and your risk of a road traffic accident or a workplace accident goes up significantly. When I first got married, my wife, in the bed with me for the first time, hears how I snore and how I stop breathing. Your body and your brain think you're dying. They think you're suffocating. So your brain sends out an emergency signal. Take a breath, because I'm about to die. And that's the gasping for air. And it's enough to send your heart racing, to make your blood pressure shoot up, and to take a breath, but not enough to wake you up.
Men who sleep for 5 hours or lesser have smaller testes than those who sleep for 8 hours or more.
Absolutely. If you hustle to make that business work and make that extra dollar so you can, provide for your family, but you are not a good employee or a good husband or wife or father or mother if you're sleep deprived. You shouldn't have to fear being fired because you went to sleep when you're supposed to go to sleep. But then there's another key, a huge hack. This will be very relevant for India, the home of the Kama Sutra. We published the Sleep Sutra.
Hello everyone, meet Dr. Carlos Nunez, who's an MD doctor and Chief Medical Officer at ResMed. ResMed is world's leader in sleep and respiratory devices, and today in this episode we are going to talk everything about sleep and sleep-related issues. Before we start, I would like to tell you that we keep uploading podcasts around health, fitness, wellness, mental well-being, so if you're not a subscriber yet, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Dr. Carlos.
Hello.
Namaste.
Namaste.
And welcome to the show. It's a pleasure, honor to have you here with us today.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much. I'm in the presence of a true celebrity here in India, so thank you for having me.
I've been really excited and looking forward to this one because sleep is something we all do, but we don't really fully understand it. I guess all of us are obsessed with getting 7 hours of sleep or 8 hours of sleep, and we often believe that if we slept for 7 to 8 hours, it must have been a very good night. But deep down, we know that it's not always true. So let's start from here. What, according to you, defines a good sleep? Is it just the number of hours, or are there any deeper markers we should be paying attention to?
Sure, that is an excellent question because sleep, as you said, is often poorly understood. It's hard to understand sleep when you're asleep while it happens. And so you don't know. For 1/3 of our lives, for 8 hours or so every day, you are completely vulnerable. You don't hear what's going on. Typically, you don't respond to what's going on. So it was either a huge mistake that evolution made, or it's so important that we are willing to be vulnerable for 1/3 of our lives to do this. Yes. And what does this mean? So you're right. There is a component of it that is the hours that you sleep. And yes, the recommendations are somewhere between 6 to 8 hours. 7 hours is fine for most adults. We do know that younger people need more sleep. Yeah. Older people need less sleep. However, there is more than just the hours. There is the regularity of your sleep. The schedule matters so much. It is actually more important that you go to sleep at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every morning than have a variable sleep schedule, even if you're getting enough hours every night. Think of like shift workers who work different shifts, maybe at night for a week or two, and then they shift to a morning or an afternoon shift.
I've done that too.
Yeah, me too. So as a doctor in the intensive care unit, I would do nights for 12 hours, then I would switch the next week to days. And Doesn't matter if you're sleeping for 8 or 9 hours after that kind of chaos in your schedule,
Exactly.
the sleep is not good. So the most important thing is the regularity, that sleep
Okay.
schedule, making sure that you prioritize sleep. Where you go to sleep is where you sleep, not where you scroll on your phone incessantly or where you are, lying awake, thinking about anxiety or money problems, but it's your sanctuary. It's where, yes, this is important. I'm going to set aside the time every day, the same time, so that I can get the restful sleep that my brain and my body needs. If we don't, we are setting ourselves up for multiple problems in our lives. Sometimes those problems happen immediately.
Yeah.
One poor night of sleep, and your risk of a road traffic accident or a workplace accident goes up significantly. It's almost as if you are driving under the influence of alcohol if you have a poor night's sleep. Your cognitive function goes down. So work, school, all suffers if you don't sleep well.
So that means a good sleep is defined by QQRT: quality, quantity, regularity, and timings.
Absolutely. Those few minutes that you spend ensuring that your sleep is good and making sure that you spend time on your wellness is time that you don't need to spend later in life on your illness.
There's a study which says that women need more sleep than men because of all the hormonal fluctuations that go inside their body, or maybe their brain is designed to multitask, which is why they need relatively more sleep than men. Is it true?
So what I would say is women need good sleep,
Yeah.
maybe not necessarily more,
Okay.
but they are more prone to get poor sleep. So even though they need the same number of hours, 7, 8 hours or so,
Okay.
most women, because of societal reasons or also because of just their physiology, struggle with sleep. So there are 2 times in a woman's life where the hormonal changes really can affect their sleep: during pregnancy and in the perimenopausal period.
Menopausal.
And so what we see is those changes make sleep very difficult. Women tend to deprioritize and sacrifice their sleep more often than men. So what we need to do is, for women and for men, is destigmatize the concept of talking about sleep. It's okay to ask your doctor questions about your sleep. If your bed partner, man or woman, is having issues sleeping, they may not know because, again, they are asleep. And so it's important to talk to your doctor. And women, especially, knowing that there are 2 periods during their life, maybe more if they've been pregnant more than once, obviously, where they really will struggle with sleep. It's more important than ever to ask the right questions.
Even doctor, I used to believe, like when I was a teenager and used to stay up till late, I used to believe that even if I'm not sleeping well on the weekdays, I can absolutely catch up on my sleep during the weekends. But turns out that sleep doesn't really work like a bank account. Young people, Gen Z, I'm sure they must also be following the same phenomena. Do you think that helps? Or how much damage can actually be prevented?
Yeah. So you can recover from sleep debt, but it takes many days and a very concerted effort, and it takes that good sleep schedule. What typically happens with young people like us, we're still young, right?
I was just talking about younger.
Yeah,
of course
we may not
younger.
be teenagers, but
Yes.
we're still young, right? What typically happens is, you sleep poorly during the week because you're up, you're on your social media, you have to get up early to go to school or to a job, and then you're out late on the weekends. It's Friday night, it's Saturday night, you meet your friends for, dinner or and so you try to make up the sleep debt, but you're going to bed late on the weekends and then just sleeping longer during the day.
Yeah.
So you may recover a little bit, but
Okay.
it's not very good sleep because you've not established a schedule. You've got late nights, early mornings, early nights, late. And that lack of a consistent schedule is what does the damage. So when we sleep, our brain recovers from the day, right? The brain is the most complex structure that we've ever discussed. Nothing in the universe more complex than the human brain. We haven't seen it yet with telescopes and satellites and everything. And it needs time to rest and recover. And the brain uses a lot of energy all day long. And it, like a factory, it creates waste. And the waste builds up during the day. And when you sleep at night, There is a separate circulation system. It's called the glymphatic system that helps flush the toxins from all parts of the body, but especially the brain.
So that drainage happens through the night.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's important because some of those toxins are linked to things like dementia and Alzheimer's.
Oh, wow.
So what we are seeing is increasing evidence that poor sleep here and there every few nights, even if you try to recover, if that's your pattern for many years or for your life, the risk for dementia later in life goes up. And that scares me a lot because not even young people, our culture in general, we sometimes wear poor sleep like a badge of honor. I only need 3 hours. I only need 4 hours and I'm fine.
We glamorize sleeping less.
Yes, we think it's the sign of you're tough, right? Or you're a good business person, doesn't need to sleep. You're up all night doing emails and in the morning you're taking Zoom calls. And what you're doing is little by little, you're damaging your brain. Without good sleep, the cells in our brain that make connections don't make those connections as well as they do. That's how we learn and consolidate memories. That happens during sleep, not while we're awake. The brain is ingesting all of these data points and it needs time to sort through everything. It needs time to clean out all of the debris from the day of all that processing that it's doing. And so it's not just teenagers or young people. It's all of us who don't prioritize our sleep, who are setting ourselves up for the permanent damage that can happen later in life.
With chronic sleep
deprivation.
Okay. Speaking of that, it all sounds so essential. I want to ask you, what is happening when we sleep? Like, what makes sleep so essential? You said it's related to our cognitive functions. You said it's related to all the hormonal things that are happening inside the body and our physical health, mental health. I also read that chronic sleep deprivation leads to things like obesity and then heart diseases because it increases the risk of insulin resistance. So since there's a lot that gets affected with just not sleeping well, what happens when a person is sleeping?
Excellent question. Essentially, the way sleep unrolls through the night, we move through different stages. They are called non-REM and REM sleep. There are multiple non-REM stages that go from light all the way to deep. And then you go into REM sleep, and then the entire cycle repeats itself. It lasts roughly 90 minutes for a typical person to go through that cycle, and then it repeats 4 to 6 times roughly each night.
So it happens no matter what time we are sleeping, when we are sleeping, but as soon as we hit bed, these cycles begin.
Yes. Once you fall asleep, the first stage will be the light sleep, and that's the transition from being awake to actually being asleep. It's when your body stops moving. It's when you start to breathe slower. Your body temperature actually can go down. Your blood pressure, your heart rate goes down. Then you'll transition into the deeper and deeper stages of non-REM sleep until you get all the way to deep sleep. Deep sleep is where you are the most deep asleep. You are the less likely to move, less likely to respond to external stimuli. And all of those stages primarily, but not exclusively, are where the body, the physical parts of the body rest. So your muscles, your tissues, that's where they can slow down. You know, if your heart rate slows down, it gives your heart muscle a chance to rest. I mean, think about it. We are born. This muscle never stops working. If you went like this every few seconds for your life, after about 20 minutes, your bicep would probably never want to move again. Your heart is just going for years and years. It needs time to rest, and it can never stop. I mean, it can stop, but you don't want that. So all of the things that slow you down during those stages from light to deeper to deep sleep, then you enter what's called REM sleep. And that's the primary time where the brain and those functions happen. So it's when memories get consolidated, the learning of the day starts to get filed away. Those new connections in your brain cells, the neurons start to happen. And it's also it's called REM or rapid eye movement because it's typically when you dream. And when you watch someone in REM sleep, you may see, even though their eyes are closed, you can see their eyes moving inside their eyelids. And that's why it's called rapid eye movement sleep. So the non-REM sleep is mostly where your body physically rests, and the REM is mostly where your brain gets to rest and consolidate the memories of the day. That's what typically happens. But any sort of sleep disorder, let's say you have insomnia, right? Some people have insomnia where they find it difficult to fall asleep. Some have insomnia where they fall asleep, but then they wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep. Unfortunately, some people have both. So if you have interrupted sleep like that, you never get to cycle through all of these stages 4, 5, 6 times every night.
Okay.
It gets interrupted. You may have to start over. Sometimes you get you awake during deep sleep when you're supposed to be the most deep, and it's very jarring. If you ever get awoken by your alarm clock and you're in deep sleep, you feel so groggy, and that's what makes you want to hit the snooze button and go back to sleep. And so people actually try and time it using wearables and special smart alarms to look for when you are in the lightest sleep before the alarm goes off to wake you up, so that it's less jarring and more natural for you. Because the way we normally wake up before we had civilization was the sun. That's all we had.
Or birds chirping.
Yeah. And so our circadian rhythms were tied to, or we evolved to tie them, and they still are, to the sun and to the darkness. And so your body is expecting, when it gets dark, you lay down, you let me go through all of these cycles so I can heal. And then the sun comes up and I wake up and I go and challenge the day.
You mentioned that during our deep sleep, which is the REM phase, and our alarm clock suddenly rings, it's not actually a good idea because that breaks the deep sleep cycle. So does that mean having an alarm clock is not good?
It's a controversial topic in a way because we need alarm clocks. People need to wake up at a certain time. But what we have seen is that, yes, if your alarm clock if it's not intelligent, it doesn't know what stage of sleep you're in. It could, if you set it every morning for 6 a.m., if you just happen to be in deep sleep right at 6 a.m. when it goes up, it's very jarring. But if you're in light sleep, just by chance, and the alarm goes off, it's a more gentle awakening because you're not as deep. You're not, when you're in deep, deep sleep, your muscles are paralyzed. You don't move. It's when your heart rate is the lowest, your body temperature drops. And all of a sudden being woken from that stage can be very, very it's jarring. I wear an Apple Watch, which has those features. If you wear it while you sleep, it will track your sleep. And, certain apps will make it so it will only wake you up if you're in lighter stages of sleep, unless there's like an emergency. So if I need to be up at 6. So it will start looking from 5:30 to 6 to see when you're in the lightest sleep to wake you up. If you get past 6, then it's just going to wake you up so you're not late for your appointment or miss a flight. The alarm clock that I've actually started using, so this is just a silly thing about me. So I mentioned I have a wearable watch. I also have one of those smart rings, an Oura ring. But I have stopped wearing the watch because I discovered another alarm clock that I like much better.
Which is?
The company is called Hatch.
Okay.
And what it does is, and I just mentioned the name, just someone wants to see what it does. I have no connection to the company, but it uses light. What it does is I set the alarm and say, okay, I need to get up at 6 a.m. So at 5:30, it starts with a deep red light. It's not that bright. And then it becomes orange and a little brighter, then yellow, mimics the rising sun.
Wow.
And by 6 o'clock, now it's a bright white light and I see it.
It's like you have your personal sun.
Yes, it's like having your own little sunrise right on your bedstand.
Wow.
But then there's another key, a huge hack.
Which is?
Once you wake up, even if you're groggy,
Yeah.
get lots and lots of natural light right away. And make sure for 20, 30 minutes, you see the sun. Your body needs that cue that says, this is morning, the sun is out, and I am now going to start my day.
Does that also help to regulate your sleep cycle, your circadian rhythm?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is actually happening? Like when we are absorbing sunlight, is it like reducing our melatonin levels?
Similar. So when the sun goes down, melatonin levels will go up. And so that's why it's so important to avoid like doom scrolling TikTok when you're laying in bed, because the blue light that comes from television screens or our phones or our tablets mimics in some ways the sunlight's effect to decrease the melatonin or to not allow melatonin to be released when it should. So yes, having that sleep-wake cycle, getting good sunlight in the morning helps that hormonal response that sets our circadian rhythms. So this is going all the way back to evolution. Think about it. Prehistoric times. We had no alarm clocks. We just had the sun. And our bodies evolved. So the sun is the signal to be awake and active, and the dark is the signal to slow down and go to sleep.
This leads me to something I've been really curious about. What happens to the body and the brain when we don't sleep for a day or two? I'm asking this because when I was in my college and back then, there were times when I would skip my sleep for a day easily because I'll pull an all-nighter if there's a important project ahead of me, or if I am partying, just like that. So what happens when we don't sleep for like a day or two maybe?
So I mentioned earlier that I'm a critical care physician. I did a fellowship in critical care medicine. And at the time that I was a fellow, it was still legal in the United States to allow fellows and residents to work 36-hour shifts nonstop.
Non-stop.
So we would work for 36
Oh
hours
my God.
in the hospital taking care of patients, and then you would have 12 hours off and start another 36-hour shift. So in those 12 hours, you had to make up for 2 days of no sleep, being a husband or a father or a friend or whatever. You had
Everything
to,
other than being a doctor.
everything had to be squeezed into those 12 hours for 2 days and then
Oh
just
my
do it
God.
again. And
That is
so I
insane.
went for a year. My fellowship lasted a year. I went for the better part of a year with that kind of sleep schedule. And you are right. You know, it's like pulling all-nighters every other day, right? And what happens is the cognitive function suffers and continues to suffer. And it doesn't get better because you never have a chance to catch up. And what ended up happening was, there's a famous case in New York City. It was an emergency department resident on her 34th or 35th hour of a 36-hour shift, made a mistake, made an error that killed a patient. And it started a legal renaissance within the United States, and they outlawed 36-hour shifts. If you ever worked 24 hours in a row, you had to have a full 24 hours off. And I say all of that because, you know, here we are in medicine where we should have known better. In the state where I trained in Florida, 36-hour shifts were made illegal in the year 1998.
Okay. So it's illegal.
Yeah, you cannot work 24 hours without 24 hours off. The brain cells may even go into a state called apoptosis, which is a fancy scientific term for the cells die.
Oh my God.
So
the brain cells,
can
starts
die from this fragmented, poor, disrupted, sleep.
Okay.
It's a big deal. The inability to form and create good memories, to consolidate learning. So you think maybe the all-nighter is going to help you do better on that test, but you may not be remembering as well. And so you get to that test, you're exhausted, and you miss those questions that you studied for hours because you're foggy. And then later in life, it's not just your brain. It's also, you're not giving your heart a chance to rest, which is why we see people with poor sleep or untreated sleep disorders have higher risks of cardiovascular problems, hypertension, atrial fibrillation, and arrhythmias like that. So there's a reason, I said it at the beginning, there's a reason why nature evolved us to be so vulnerable for 8 hours every day.
Exactly.
It's so important.
So true.
You cannot skip good sleep.
Yeah. Do kids also have sleeping troubles?
Babies can have sleep apnea.
My God.
People who are young in their 20s and 30s and thin like this can have sleep apnea.
We all know that gut health is essential and it affects nearly all processes and systems of our body. Does it also affect our sleep? We also have a Spotify channel, links of which are in the description below. Let's dig a little more into the quality of sleep.
Sure.
Some people snore and some don't, and it's often brushed off as a funny or an annoying habit. Does snoring tell anything about sleep quality or health?
Absolutely. So can I tell a personal story a little bit?
Of course.
Okay. So I have sleep apnea.
Okay.
I'm a physician, right? I've been married for 34 years. 34 years ago, when I first got married, my wife, in the bed with me for the first time, hears how I snore and how I stop breathing. I'm choking.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. So she's an ICU nurse, right?
Okay.
So she took a recorder and recorded me snoring and gasping for air. Sorry for the funny noise, but that's what it sounded like. And to shame me, she brought the recording to the intensive care unit where I worked in the hospital, and all the nurses listened to it. She goes, look what I have to sleep with now. To shame me, to do something about it.
Yeah.
So I did, 25 years later. I'm a doctor and I should know better. but I was in denial. That's how I sleep. I snore, big deal. I was a resident. I lived on 36-hour shifts. And what I found was that it was affecting not just me being tired, it made it more difficult for me to maintain a healthy weight. It made it more difficult for me to have the energy or the time or the interest to, do all the things that you want to do in life. Spend time with your kids, have intimate time with your wife. It affected so much.
I also heard the fact that men who sleep for 5 hours or lesser have smaller testes than those who sleep for 8 hours or more. So does that mean sleep also affects testosterone levels? Is that true?
Poor sleep does decrease testosterone level. If you look at some of the even non-medical journals, you look at some of the people talking, health influencers and things saying, one of the best ways to naturally increase your testosterone level is to get good sleep. It is documented. There's scientific research that shows untreated sleep apnea raises the risk for erectile dysfunction. So again, as scary as dementia seems for men, poor sleep, decreasing your testosterone, increasing your risk for erectile dysfunction should also be pretty scary.
Of course.
So about 9 years ago, when I finally said, you know what, enough is enough, I got tested. I realized, which I already knew, that I had pretty significant sleep apnea. So now I am treated. I use a CPAP machine every night. I travel with one. I have one with me in my hotel here in Mumbai. It goes with me everywhere. All of a sudden, I had more energy for everything, including the intimate time with my wife. And as I started telling my friends that I was on CPAP therapy for my sleep apnea, one question kept coming up from the wives and the husbands. That's not very sexy, is it? And my wife would look at them and say, first of all, he wears that mask to sleep. He doesn't wear that mask for other stuff. And then she would say, number two, there is nothing more sexy than a man who doesn't snore and lets me sleep. So
absolutely.
So a long way of saying yes, poor sleep can affect men and their sexuality significantly. So it's not something to be messed around with.
What changes did you feel in your body after once you recognized this issue and started paying attention to it?
So I didn't know how much I was suffering until I started my therapy. And you know what was the first sign, which was amazing to me? And this is also a little bit scary. The first full night that I slept on the CPAP machine was the first night in about 20 years that I could remember having a dream.
Wow.
My sleep was so fragmented. So when you do the sleep study, they give you a number. It's called the AHI. It stands for Apnea Hypopnea Index. It literally means this is the number of times you stop breathing every hour. So mine was in the 30s. That means
which
every
is
two—
on the higher side?
Pretty high. I've seen them over 100. But just imagine, just to make the math easy, if your AHI is 30, that means every 2 minutes, 30 times an hour, every 2 minutes, you suffocate to the point where no air is getting into your lungs, no oxygen is getting into your blood. Your body and your brain think you're dying. They think you're suffocating. So your brain sends out an emergency signal. It sends an adrenaline rush through your whole body to say, okay, take a breath because I'm about to die. And that's the gasping for air. And it's enough to send your heart racing, to make your blood pressure shoot up, and to take a breath, but not enough to wake you up. That's why people don't know they have it. So that's why you can go for years, and until your bed partner says, you have a problem, you may never know. So it's a very big deal. Think about that. 30 times an hour, I was suffocating. 30 times an hour, my brain, my heart, my tissues were not getting enough oxygen.
All your defense mechanism came into action.
Yes. And then 30 times an hour, that adrenaline rush made my blood pressure shoot up, my heart rate shoot up. So when my heart is supposed to be resting, it's working harder.
Exactly.
So there is no mystery as to why, if I didn't change and fix my sleep disorder later in life, I'd have a heart disease, I'd have high blood pressure or a stroke, strokes, atrial fibrillation, heart disease, dementia, all these things, erectile dysfunction. It's on and on and on.
For years and years and years.
For years and years.
People don't realize it.
You mentioned gaining weight and obesity. Poor sleep, makes it very easy for you to gain weight, because when you don't sleep well and you're tired and your brain is craving energy, you crave all the wrong things. No one craves a salad at 3 a.m, right? When you're sleep deprived, you want snacks, sweets, you eat junk food.
Absolutely.
Because your brain is craving quick energy. So we don't make good decisions. And when you think about health, and I as I mentioned, I follow you online, and I admire how open you are about your own journey, the struggles you've had with, you struggled with your weight and your health, and you're finding ways to help the people of India understand their health better. When I think about health in general, we talk about the 3 pillars of health: diet, exercise, and sleep. But we ignore sleep. We almost, pardon the term, fetishize diet and exercise. Boy, that latest craze, let me do it.
Yes.
Sign me up. Yes. But you mentioned sleep. It's okay. I live with 5 hours of sleep. I'm fine. Snoring, that means I'm sleeping well.
Yeah.
It means I'm, he's a good sleeper because he's no, not always. Some people snore and they do not have sleep apnea.
In fact, snoring and sleeping are so much related. Like, it is considered so obvious. Then even when we try to act like we are sleeping, we snore.
Yeah. Yes.
We snore to just pretend that we are sleeping. It goes hand in hand. It's like, it's normal.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't want to say that everyone who snores has sleep apnea, but it is the most visible symptom of sleep apnea. And many, many people who snore, they snore because of that reason. So we need to pay attention to all the signs and symptoms of sleep disorders. And I'm not talking about sleep apnea, just all sleep disorders. Being tired all the time, waking up tired and not having a clear head throughout the day. I mentioned headaches. Sometimes people will wake up and be drenched in sweat and they don't know why. Yeah. And that's often from the adrenaline rush that happens if you're suffocating. That was my symptom that I ignored. I would wake up covered in sweat many nights or many mornings. And sleep apnea carries a bit of a stigma because people don't like the idea, I need to sleep with a mask, I have to sleep with this machine. Yes. But we're more than willing to take injections and pills for all sorts of ailments, right?
Absolutely.
This is just air. This is just the air from your bedroom being put into your lungs so that you can get oxygen for your brain and your heart. I don't know why anyone would want to refuse that. So there's a Pokemon character named Snorlax, and his characteristic as a Pokemon is that he snores and he sleeps and he snores. And he's this chubby, looks like a teddy bear. My kids used to call me Snorlax. So that's how I know him. I saw a tattoo on an adult human male of Snorlax wearing a mask connected to a ResMed. It had the ResMed logo, sleep apnea device. I'm telling you, when people get the therapy, they get over the stigma and whatever, for insomnia, sleep, and you get that first good night's sleep, you fall in love. Whatever it is that helped you get that good night's sleep, I never do not want to dream again. I want to sleep and feel refreshed and enjoy the dreams and know that my brain is working properly. So
who would not want to do that?
I know. And to think that no one's going to see you while you're sleeping. I mean, maybe your loved ones, but they love you. They're not going to not love you because you're breathing. They actually would like for you to breathe and stay alive.
Exactly. Talking about that, when it comes to comfort, how comfortable is it to sleep with this device on? So
the devices can vary in size, and I'll tell you why. So I have 2. I have one that stays at home all the time, and it's a little larger. It's about the size of, say, a clock radio that would be on your bedstand. And that one stays at home. And then I have a very small one that I use for travel. It would probably fit inside this coffee cup. I actually even use it on airplanes. So if I have to take an overnight flight, which actually tonight I will be flying overnight, I pull out my CPAP, I plug, because airplanes now have power outlets at lots of the seats, and I put it on. And then the masks are different. So it depends on if most important thing is, are you a mouth breather or not? So many people just breathe through their nose. Some people breathe through their nose and their mouth. I am fortunate I just breathe through my nose. So the mask I use actually is not even a mask. It's called a nasal pillows. And it looks, have you ever seen the little prongs that people wear for oxygen? It looks a little bit like that, except that it's sealed. They're bigger, so it seals against your nose. And it's made of very soft, very pliable silicone. Put it on, turn on the machine. It's so quiet. When I got my newest one, it's the latest generation machine at home. I turned it on to go sleep with it, and my wife is like, "Your new machine's not working." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, I don't hear it. I'm like, it's on. It's
She-
working. I pulled the mask
She
off.
can't hear what? She can't hear the machine,
machine.
or she can hear you snore.
She couldn't hear the machine.
Oh,
it's
it's
so
so
quiet.
Okay.
And I'm not snoring, so she didn't hear snoring. She didn't hear the machine. She didn't know what
Wow.
happened. The machine is off and he's dead. I don't know. But so the machines are so quiet. The masks are so comfortable. CPAP as a therapy faces is whenever you see it in popular media, you see it on a TV show or in a movie,
Yeah.
it's often being made fun of. It's often the butt of the joke. And it's a machine that's this big, that sounds like Darth Vader, breathing. And
Yeah.
it's not that
It's
at
not
all.
like that.
It's not like that at all.
That's an exaggerated version of.
That's the 30-year-old version of
Okay.
CPAP.
Okay.
Yeah. And the way I like to think of it is, if you have problems seeing, why wouldn't you wear glasses or contact lenses? If you have flat feet and you want to run a marathon, you'll put inserts in your shoes and your trainer so you can run that marathon. If you're suffocating and you need to breathe so you can sleep, why wouldn't you allow the air from your bedroom to get into your lungs? It's so natural and so easy now that it's quiet and comfortable. There should be no stigma. No one should suffer 25 years like I did, or 25 years like my poor wife did, because of a stigma.
Yeah.
My wife likes to say that this CPAP is the only therapy that cures two patients at the same time, because I don't snore and now she can sleep.
So true. So true. I recently got my DNA test done and found that I am a night owl. So probably that's a part of my chronotype. So for someone like me who's a night owl or who feels more active during the night, more creative during the night, for them, is it also important to follow a 10 p.m. night routine, or should they actually go with the flow?
So the chronotype is a very, very interesting topic. I'm a huge believer in the idea of the chronotype. And so I'm a little bit like you. I'm a bit of a night owl, but unfortunately, I'm also a bit of an early bird.
Oh.
So I don't know, between a night owl and an early bird, it makes me some sort of sleep-deprived pigeon. I don't know. But what I've had to learn to do is I try to be in bed by 10 p.m.
Okay.
I know I'm a night owl and I'm extremely creative at night.
Yeah.
So I will say, okay, after dinner, if I'm going to go, so I have a workshop in my garage where I do my hobbies.
Okay.
That's another topic for another podcast. I'm very nerdy and I build robots and things like that. But so I know that I need to wrap that up and start to wind down by 9 p.m. And the wind down is really important. So you might be later, maybe you want to go to bed late. Spend an hour, when you're done being creative and before you lay in bed, spend an hour, wind down, do something, deep breathing, meditation, even gentle yoga. You don't want to do heavy workouts, but find that hour to wind down. And then I go to bed at 10, and my goal is to be asleep by 11, because my natural clock will wake me up at 6, or my fancy alarm clock will wake me up at 6, and that gives me 7 hours, 11 to 6. And that's enough for me. If I can get good, restful 7 hours, I haven't fought against my chronotype. I've used my chronotype to build that good sleep hygiene. And then when I get up at 6, I have my personal sun, but then I go downstairs immediately. And before I do anything, no coffee, no breakfast, no anything, I get some sunlight. I make sure that I don't allow my chronotype to be an excuse to stay up too late. I'm a night owl. And if I can get an extra 2-3 hours of creativity, that should be enough. I need to, that hustle culture, that go-go that we all face. You know what? It's also, that extra email can wait, because my sleep will kill me if I don't get it. That email's not going to kill me if I don't answer it till tomorrow morning.
I think getting fired is better than getting killed.
Yeah, probably so. And you know what? I tell my, even though we work in a global company. I have people that I work with spread across the globe. I tell people that if you ever get an email or a message from me and it happens to be your weekend or your nighttime, ignore it. Feel free to ignore it until Monday morning. We have to change that cultural mindset that we need to be on 24/7. We need to understand that, you are not a good employee or a good husband or wife or father or mother if you're sleep deprived, or if you're sick, or if you die prematurely from a stroke or early onset dementia. So, yeah, we have to change that culture. You shouldn't have to fear being fired because you went to sleep when you're supposed to go to sleep.
Yeah, that's true. This is actually a cultural difference. I mean, talking about India and where you are coming from, there's a huge cultural difference because every time I visit the US, I see that people do prioritize their work-life balance because when they start the work, they directly head to it with no small talks in between and then directly get into the work. They would wind down and wrap up everything by 5 and I think be at home by 6 and then everything happens right in time. But here in India, because of the hustle culture, because we are, the country, the nation as a whole is currently into development phase and aggressive and everybody wants to be there at the top. There is tough competition, so many startups. So that hustle is in the air, I would say. It's in the blood right now. It's in the blood of Indians. So we don't really look at time when we are working. Even when, like, I'm also talking about people who know the importance of sleep. I'm talking about someone like me. I do prioritize sleep, but at times when we look around, when we see that everybody's hustling and I have to be there at the top and I don't have an option. Because some days sleeping means losing the train. Some days putting an alarm clock and that abrupt waking up is essential because I need to catch that flight. I'm not talking about that one email, but I'm talking about that one opportunity.
Yes.
So that hustle, we need to be there. I mean, there is just no excuse.
It's difficult. And yes, maybe it seems like in the US we are better, but maybe we fake it better because, we might start work, leave at 5, you're at home, but countless people are on emails all night long. Or even if they're not actively working, they're worrying about work and it's affecting their sleep. And there's no easy cure because I understand, India is in an interesting time in their history, such a, fast-growing GDP, fast-growing economy, well-educated people that are starting businesses or participating in global industries. ResMed is 10,000 employees. 1,000 of them are here in India. 1/10 of our employees are right here in India. And part of it is because the culture where things get done and, engineers writing software and all of that. And I get it. And it's hard to say, no, stop, turn that off. The only thing I can say is little by little, culturally, we just have to accept that. And I know that maybe it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I find the company or the culture that's going to allow you to have some sort of work-life balance. Because if you hustle to make that business work and make that extra dollar so you can, provide for your family, but then all of a sudden you have a debilitating stroke or a heart attack, then what have you hustled for?
That's so
right?
True. You remember we talked about covering up for your weekdays sleep. Here, we all are covering up for the years of sleep we never had.
Yeah.
So for years, we are compromising on sleep and then believing that one day when we'll be all settled and everything in our late 30s or so, we'll have ample time to sleep. So we are basically trying to make up for all the years of sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
That's the reality. But I'm glad that we are having this conversation because things like these will only create awareness and people would really understand that sleeping more would actually lead to better productivity, not sleeping lesser or less quality of sleep.
Absolutely. There are studies that show how much productivity is lost from poor sleep. So you might think you're hustling and doing better, but it might actually be taking you longer to be as effective because your cognitive abilities are blunted by poor sleep. So in India, for example, so ResMed conducts a global sleep survey every year.
Okay.
And in India this year, what we discovered was that nearly half of Indians, working Indians, 47% if I remember correctly, have called in sick from work because of poor sleep.
Oh.
That's the only reason. They weren't sick.
Crazy. Yeah.
They were just so tired because of poor sleep. They needed a day to just recover. So that shows you that, just that one statistic, the workplace is suffering. If half of the people call in sick one day, multiply that by the hundreds of millions of working Indians one day per year. I mean, how many hours of lost productivity because of poor
So true.
sleep. Then you add in the days that they show up for work
Mhm.
where they're overly tired, they don't perform as well, more lost productivity.
Yeah.
And you've heard the terms maybe not just absenteeism, but presenteeism, being present, but really not there because you're not at your best. So it will take time to change cultural attitudes. It always
Yeah,
does.
exactly.
But if we can raise a little bit of awareness today, maybe someone who unnecessarily hustles a little too much might say, you
Yes.
know what? I'm going to take that extra hour for myself
Right,
and
right.
wind down.
Correct. No, actually, there is a lot of scope. Why? Because those who are hustling, they're not hustling 24/7. After they hustle, they have a lot of other things to do. So, what they should do instead, I mean, it's just an opinion because I now pay attention to my sleep. So, after I do my hustling and after I do like all the work that I need to do, I then prioritize sleep over everything else. Like, I would not go for shopping, I would skip that movie, or I would skip an outing but sleep. So, I think only if we pay attention to this part and prioritize sleep more, then I think nobody would ever need to compromise on their work or whatever they want to do in their lives.
Absolutely. There's a way to do both, to work hard,
Exactly.
to meet all of your responsibilities, maybe even to go above and beyond, but
Yeah.
still prioritize sleep. If you
True.
look at some of the highest achievers in the business world, I was actually listening to a podcast interview of Jeff Bezos,
Okay.
and one of the richest men in the world who built a company that has changed our lives. And he talks about how he prioritizes sleep. In the morning, he does something that I do, which was really nice. He spends half an hour, 45 minutes in the morning doing nothing. Drinking his coffee, maybe he flips through the headlines on the news, but he just calls it his just time to hang out and chill and do nothing. And I do the same. I get up, I get my son, then I'll have my first cup of coffee, and then I'll go into my garage, my robot factory,
Oh,
and
in the
do what
morning also.
relaxes
Okay.
me.
Wow.
So, and that way I find a little time in the morning to do my hobby so that
Yeah.
at night I don't have to stay up so late.
Calm mornings is the best way to start your day.
Absolutely.
Even I do that. So I know what you mean. Okay, so doctor, we talked about all the issues people face while asleep. Is there a science behind cuddling or skin contact before going off to sleep?
That human touch, that companionship, it helps everything from decrease your blood pressure, calms the mind. So anything that can do that is only going to help your sleep.
If your goals let you sleep, your goals are not big enough. What would you like to say on that? I would like to tell you that we have another channel by the name of Gunjan Talks Clips, where we upload mini clips of these long podcasts so that you can enjoy watching them in less time. Even when people follow their natural rhythm or stay in bed for 7 to 8 hours, but there are still sleep issues. I am specifically talking about generation, let's say our parents or their parents, who put themselves to bed, but they still don't get proper sleep, tossing, turning, snoring, or waking up tired. This is normal for them. Why does it happen, and what will be the solution?
People worry about financial things.
Oh.
They have family stress, things that cause them anxiety are the number one reasons people feel they have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. How do you deal with those parts of your life so that it doesn't impact your sleep without doing the types of things that we see, like people become addicted to sleeping tablets because they'll go talk to their doctor and they just want a pill. They want an easy, quick fix.
Right.
And most sleeping pills are meant for short-term use. Some of them are very habit-forming, can even be addictive. And what happens is you become addicted to that tablet helps me sleep. And so for the rest of your life, you're getting prescriptions for sleeping tablets. It's like alcohol. Some people think like, oh, I have a glass of wine and it helps me calm down and go to sleep. Yes, alcohol will help you fall asleep. Just like if you drink too much, you'll go unconscious, right? You black out from being drunk. But your brain's not sleeping well. You've just depressed the activity in your brain to make it look like you're sleeping well. But actually, you also depress parts of the brain that allow the parts that should be resting to become a little hyperactive. And so your sleep isn't good. It's not as restful.
Which defies the real purpose of sleeping in the first place.
Exactly. Only use your bed as a place to sleep. If you're lying there tossing and turning, get out of bed. Don't stay there for hours because you're training your body that bed is the place where I don't sleep. How many times do we see elderly people, sitting in a chair and dozing off in the middle and we just assume that that's a normal part of being old. You get tired and you fall asleep sitting in a chair or watching TV.
Yeah.
No, that's one of the number one signs of sleep apnea.
Really?
Yes. And so, if you get drowsy and fall asleep at a stoplight, or you can't make it through a television program or a movie because you're falling asleep, that's one of the number one signs of untreated sleep apnea.
This is abnormal.
Abnormal.
Okay.
How many elderly patients who we have not given them the opportunity to treat their sleep apnea are drowsy, trip and fall and break a hip and end up in the hospital? And often for the elderly, a broken hip is like a death sentence.
Absolutely.
They never recover.
Yeah.
The day before I left to come to India, I went to go visit my mother. And I bought her an Apple Watch because it does the fall detection if she trips and falls, right?
Yeah.
She lives alone, even though she's close to me. The Apple Watch now can detect sleep apnea. It about a year ago got FDA clearance, and it can tell if you have sleep apnea. The Samsung Galaxy Watch does as well.
Okay.
As I'm getting ready to say goodbye, I'm going to be in India. I'll be back in a week. She goes, by the way, my Apple Watch told me that I have sleep apnea.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. And after hearing what she said, I'm like, you know what, Mom? When I get back from India, we're going to get you a sleep test.
Yeah.
And she goes, I'm so old. Do I want to? And I said, yes. Because what if you're drowsy and you trip and fall and break your hip? I do not want that to happen to you. I said, it's changed my life.
Of course.
You might find it's going to change your life.
And you being the biggest advocate of it, why would you not give it
To my mother, of all people, yeah. And look at all those years she went. And maybe she developed it later in life.
Yeah.
Maybe she doesn't snore. And again, she's not in the bedroom with us, so I can't see how she sleeps. And my father passed away, so that she has no one there to tell her that she's now snoring or stops breathing.
Yes.
But her wearable device did.
Thanks to technology.
Yes, thanks to technology. Now, it's like I said, now the two largest consumer electronics companies in the world, Samsung and Apple, both have FDA clearance for their wearable to detect sleep apnea.
Wow.
It's a big deal. When those companies are doing that, and it's for free, they're not going to make you pay extra for it.
Of course.
It's because it's a big deal.
Big deal, of course. Yeah, very true. We're talking about sleep problems in older generations. I'm just curious to know, do kids also have sleeping troubles? Like I'm talking about really like small kids, 5 years, 6 years, up to 10 years. They don't have stress as much as, teenagers or younger people or adults have. Do you ever come across kids with sleeping issues?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Most people assume sleep apnea is a disease that happens just to older, overweight men, right? It's just when men gain a few extra pounds, they snore more loudly, they have sleep apnea.
Yes.
Babies can have sleep apnea.
My God.
People who are young in their 20s and 30s and thin like this can have sleep apnea because it's a condition that's caused by your anatomy, not your weight, not your gender. One of the telltale signs is if you have a child who breathes with their mouth open while they sleep. A mouth-breathing child is struggling to get enough air. It may be because of big tonsils or because of their anatomy. They may have a deviated septum. Now, there are sleep disorders as you see in older kids. You mentioned teenagers and stress. Probably the number one stressor in teenagers now is social media, right? There are uses of social media that are amazing, like the content that you create to educate people. But unfortunately, too many kids, especially teenagers, get caught up in that likes and it's not using social media for good. It's how many friends do they have and what do their friends say? And it causes so much stress. And we're seeing studies that show, everything from body image issues in young girls to stress, anxiety, depression, even increased risk of suicide. So that is a driver of sleeping disorders because children, now they feel the anxiety or they're doom scrolling TikTok when they should be getting ready for bed.
Exactly.
And so we're creating these artificial environments that are causing our teenagers to have sleep disorders like, the anxiety that causes insomnia.
Oh my God. I never saw that coming.
Sorry. Yeah, it's scary. It's very scary. As parents, try and limit their screen time.
Yeah.
Make sure that bedtime is bedtime. Bedtime is not this time, right?
Yes.
My children are older now, but when they were younger, the rule was you charge your phone in my room at night. you do not go to bed with your phone. It does not go into your room. So that way they're not tempted. Even if they say, oh, I'm not going to be on my phone. It's plugged in. I'm charging. You know what happens.
Yes.
2 a.m, you walk in, they're hidden under the sheets and you see the light
Yes.
because they're in there. And
course.
I asked my son something that I read where when he was in high school still, I said, I read somewhere where if you post something and you don't get 100 likes within an hour, it's considered embarrassing and you'll delete the post. I said, that can't be true. And he goes, oh, 100%. And now that may be just an anecdote, my son, his high school, his environment or whatever. But if our children are feeling that kind of pressure when they should be children and enjoying their lives, you can imagine that they probably, don't sleep well or struggle falling asleep, the anxiety. Do they like me? Am I popular? Do my friends think I'm cool? All driven by this. And then because it's that screen and it's that blue light, they're harming their ability to get a good restful night's sleep if they spend all their time on a screen.
Exactly. They're stressed at their own levels.
Yes, a different kind of stress. They may not be worried about finances, paying the bills for the household.
Exactly.
But they have school to worry about, and now they have all the social pressures that are amplified.
And it's increasing day by day. With every new generation, I think the new set of stressors are coming into place.
Absolutely.
Hence the need of awareness and hence the need of technology and interventions is even more important.
Absolutely. I mean, technology is amazing. It has changed our world. It's a large driver of that hustle culture in India.
True.
But we have to understand with every technological advancement, there's also problem. You can split an atom and make electricity, or you can split an atom and make a bomb, right?
Now let's talk about the part everyone really wants to know. How can we have a great sleep? And let's start with meals, because we often hear that meal timings affect the quality of sleep. So according to you, what is the ideal gap between dinner and bedtime?
It's an excellent question. I'm going to answer it with 3 different answers for a reason. They're all food related.
Okay.
So in general, you do not want to go to bed on a full stomach. It leads to simple things like indigestion. If your stomach is full, as your body enters sleep, it slows down everything, including your digestion. You may wake up and realize, oh my God, I'm still feeling full from that dinner I had last night. That indigestion can interrupt people's sleep.
Okay.
The other problem is sometimes, and I don't, Indian food can sometimes be spicy, can
Always,
also
not sometimes.
can lead to reflux, heartburn, gastroesophageal reflux disease. And that can interrupt your sleep. And so you want to make sure if you do have a spicy meal, you give your body at least a few hours to digest. You don't want it sitting in your stomach, because then you lay down and those spices can slowly make their way up and cause the heartburn. And that's a major cause of insomnia, people that just can't fall asleep because they're dealing with heartburn. Okay. But the other 2 answers are caffeine and alcohol. So besides food, other things that we commonly ingest. So caffeine, in the time that I've been here in India, I've enjoyed the tea-centric culture here because we drink a lot of coffee in the US. We don't drink enough tea. Tea is so healthy for you.
Yes.
But I see that people will drink tea even late into the day. What I've learned just for myself, and everybody's different, is after 2 or 3 p.m., I cannot drink caffeine because I realize it does affect my sleep even hours later. Yes. So the other thing I would say is if caffeine is a part of what you eat or drink, try and limit that to, by mid-afternoon, you shouldn't really be having caffeine, especially if you have sleep disorders. And then alcohol. The good rule of thumb, so alcohol, as I mentioned, you might drink a lot and then just pass right out and it feels like you're sleeping, but it is impairing your sleep.
So that's basically sedation dressed as sleep, but people often get confused.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So the rule of thumb, a good rule of thumb is for every alcoholic beverage that you consume in an evening, you need an hour for each one before you go to bed. So if you have 2 glasses of wine at dinner, make sure you have at least 2 hours of a gap before you go to sleep.
In Europe, I think there's a culture of having a drink after dinner, after their meal.
Yes.
So I think that's not a good idea, maybe.
Unless you give it time. Unless you give it enough. If you have a glass of wine with your dinner and then maybe a little, digestif, as they call it in France, after dinner.
Yeah, I
you
think
had 2 drinks.
They drink limoncello
in Italy, as a
digestive drink post meals.
Yes. So if you have a glass of wine and a limoncello, that's 2.
Yeah.
make sure you have at least 2 hours
2
before you go to
hours.
sleep.
Okay.
You want to metabolize that alcohol, so that is mostly out of your system. So your sleep is actually sleep and not sedation.
Yes, I think that's a very good practical formula which you gave. The number of drinks you have, make sure the same number of hours you have to your bed.
Yes, and it's again that's why I say it, because it's an easy rule to remember.
We all know that gut health is essential and it affects nearly all processes and systems of our body. Does it also affect our sleep?
So the bacteria that live inside your intestines, which are very, very important for our lives, they help us digest our food. And that gut microbiome, the more varied that it is, apparently helps people maintain better sleep.
Okay.
The evidence is very early, but what I've learned, and I am not a nutritionist, things like fermented foods, yogurt, kombucha, are very good for maintaining a healthy gut microbiome. And so that's what I try and do. I do drink kombucha regularly, and I eat Greek yogurt regularly. I don't know if that's helped my sleep as much as my CPAP, but again, it's just part of being healthy.
I think it's all of it.
It's all of it.
It's a lifestyle and precautions that you take care of. And as you said, fermented, I think being in India, we have a lot of options when it comes to fermented food, especially when we look at South Indian cuisine. That is, we have so many options which are fermented and good for your gut flora. Let's talk about the physical environment of sleep. What is the ideal environment? Like, let's talk about room temperature. When we put ourselves to sleep, how should the room feel? Like cozy, warm, or cold? What is the ideal temperature?
So this is an interesting one. Yeah. The cold, not cold,
cold as
but cooler the better. And I know, and sometimes in a tropical or subtropical climate, that may be very hard to do, especially if you don't have air conditioning. But yes, it's better to be cool in the room than warm, which is very strange. Me personally don't like a cold bedroom. I prefer that warm, cozy feeling and a nice big blanket. But that's actually less conducive to sleep for whatever reason. Having a room, I'm going to get the degrees wrong because I'm going to mention them in Fahrenheit and try to do the conversion. But, closer to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which is maybe closer to 15, 17. We can ask Siri later.
Yes. Okay. We'll
but
figure that out.
But it should be cool. It should be dark. It should be completely dark. So one of the things that we struggle with in this modern era is everything's got a little LED on it, right? Yeah. So you might think your room is dark, and then you open it up and you go, oh, my clock has a little green LED.
There's some light from somewhere you don't know.
Yeah, the charging cord for my mobile phone has a little LED or something. Or they're everywhere. And it should be no light until the sun. It should be as dark as you can make it. And if you can't make it dark, get a pair of those shades for your eyes. Yes. So dark, cool, and quiet. It has to be quiet, no distractions, no disruptions. Yeah. That's the best. Now, obviously, some people have pets in the home that jump in and out of the bed, and that can be disruptive. Yeah. Or children who disturb you. Yes. You may be a shift worker and sleeping during the day, and you hear the street noise out. So it's not always easy to get dark and cold and quiet, but do your best.
That's a personal question, actually. I have a pet who sleeps right next to me, and in the middle of the night, he will just start licking my face. And that's how my REM and non-REM breaks, and then I get back to square one.
Yes.
Is there a solution to that?
Maybe he needs a CPAP. No. Put some very spicy food on your cheek, so when he licks your face, he'll learn not to do it again. Other than that, you might have to ask a veterinarian.
And how about the firmness of mattress? Does that also matter?
It varies for everyone. And yes, the more firm the mattress tends to be the better, but some people really prefer soft. Okay. What happens is when you change, if you find the firmness that's good for you and you get used to it, you go on vacation and you sleep in a hotel and you're used to firm and they have soft, or you're used to soft and they have firm. That change is an adjustment that your body, especially your spine, has to go through. You're used to a certain level of support, especially in the direction in which you sleep. Now it has changed, and your spine and your muscles are flexing in different directions. More firm tends to be better for most people, but not everyone. But just be aware when you change, the change can be jarring.
That actually brings me to this, that at times I have experienced myself that we get better sleep in a hotel room. Maybe because of the physical environment they must have created very thoughtfully, the ideal, temperature and the dark curtains, and there's no noise. The rooms are mostly soundproof because of the environment. Like, is that the reason we get better sleep in?
Probably, absolutely, yes. So think about it. How often have you gone on vacation and because you're not paying for the electricity, you make the air conditioner a little bit colder than you would at home, right? It's like it's their electricity, it's their air conditioning, and you make the room a little bit colder.
And then
they make it dark and they make it quiet. And all of a sudden, those three magical elements that not everyone has at home, you're on, it's dark, it's quiet, I've cooled down the room, I get under the comfy sheets. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So
That's
try
what
to
happens.
recreate that environment at home.
Yes.
Doctor, I also heard a lot of people use white noise or pink noise. Are these really helpful or just a trend? By the way, I also use white noise at times,
Yes.
but I would like to know from you.
No, they are helpful. Actually, I think, so I use brown noise. I don't know if you've heard of brown noise.
Never heard of that.
So white noise is, I may get this wrong, so if there's an audiologist out there, forgive me. If I understand this correctly, white noise is like all frequencies across all, it just sounds like static.
Yes.
Pink noise prioritizes higher frequencies. So it's like white noise, but a little bit higher frequencies. Brown noise is prioritizing the lower frequencies. So it almost feels like a low rumble. My wife loves white noise to fall asleep. She actually loves the sound of waves crashing, which is very white, but also has that brown noise mixed in because it's the low rumble and the whoosh of the waves. Sorry, I'm making all the noises. But yeah, so they all can be helpful. And I think it's a personal preference. But again, what I've seen in the research that I've looked at is white noise tends to be used more for sleep, brown noise more for relaxation.
And how about these lights? So the red light therapy, and then there are red light masks, glasses. Do they also help?
So yes, they can. And I think I mentioned before, the light from our screens and from television screens tends to be further into the blue spectrum, which mimics the effect of the sun on our hormonal balance, like melatonin and others. And red light is the light that activates that the least. Yes, so people, if they need light, and so it's red light therapy, but also if you need to turn on a light at night, they recommend if you can turn on a red light, is better than turning on the light. And yes, there are, like, you may have seen blue blocker glasses that you can wear, so you can be on your phone and it supposedly blocks the blue light. I use an iPhone, so Apple's iPhone has a setting where they change
night mode.
Yes, and they change the character of the LED backlight to reduce the blue wavelengths. I mean, those are helpful, but you just want to try to avoid that blue light and either no light, or if you're going to use light, red light is definitely better.
Okay. So that helps. Like, it's not just fashion, it really works.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about wind down rituals. I've myself experienced that mild stretches or pranayam or breathing just before bed really helps to sleep better.
Yes. So a good wind down is, at least 30 minutes, but if possible, and not everybody has the luxury, but the hour before you go to lay down in bed or go to sleep, spend that hour doing something that is going to relax you, bring your heart rate down. So not strenuous exercise, but if you want to do stretching, or I mentioned I will do very light yoga in the evenings, breathing, whatever, box breathing, or just mindfulness breathing, deep breathing, meditation, anything that calms you down, a warm bath, maybe a warm cup of herbal tea, nothing with caffeine in it. Anything that gets you away from a screen, away from a bright light, reading a book, anything, so that you've got that hour to wind down. You need to, it's almost like stretching before exercise. The wind down before sleep helps you push the stress of the day away. and get ready because
Yes.
you want to fall asleep and you want to recover from the day and you want that separation. It's a good time, if you have insomnia or intrusive thoughts that make it hard to fall asleep, maybe that's when you go through a checklist of the things that you accomplished or write down the list of the things you want to do tomorrow so you don't have to worry about them while you're lying in bed. And then this is not the wind down period, but it's an interesting hack, and I'll throw it out there now because it's worked for me and I didn't believe it would work. At the end of my wind down period, when I finally lay down and I am going to go to sleep, if I still feel like I'm having those intrusive thoughts or I'm too fixated on work, I read that a sleep physician tells this to all his patients. He says it's the ultimate sleep hack. Think of a word or a name. So I usually will take one of my children's names and start with the first letter. So one of my children's named Julian, so J, and try and name as many objects that start with the letter J that you can recall in your house. So I will close my eyes and so J. So I'll think about being in the kitchen, juice, or something like that. And then I'll go to the next. If your mind drifts and now you're thinking about work, go back. No, okay, J, now it's you. What am I? By the time I get to the third or fourth letter, I'm asleep. And I didn't believe it would work. But what you've done is you've short-circuited your mind from those intrusive thoughts. You've given it something kind of to focus on that's not too difficult. And because I visualize wandering around my house, it's relaxing and I'm asleep. There you go. See, I'm faking snoring to show that I'm sleeping, just like you said.
So it's more like a meditative practice wherein you are concentrating all your thoughts and energies and everything into one particular thing, and rather than wandering and thinking about a number of other things that goes into mind.
Yes.
It's more like meditation. So
it is a lot like meditation.
Yes.
So when I was in university, people go through their stages, and I was discovering myself. And I actually spent a lot of time trying to understand transcendental meditation, not for a religious reason, but because I read an interesting book by a physician at Harvard who talked about how it's so healthy for you to clear your mind and relax. And this is many years before I even knew about all the sleep stuff. And I learned to count breaths, where you take deep breath in 1, exhale 2, and when you get to 10, start over.
Yes.
And it's very similar to that, where I'm just letter by letter, I'm calming myself down with a simple activity where I'm so and the next thing you know, you've just focused down to that point where you finally fall asleep.
Have you heard of Yog Nidra? So that's like a meditative practice which puts you into sleep. Like it's a proven kind of a meditation. It's a yoga, which is specially meant to help you sleep.
Yes, I have, and it's those same principles.
Yes,
relaxing the body and the mind, focusing on the one thing, and pushing the rest of the world out, and even focusing on nothing. I never became, an expert in transcendental meditation. I never reached nirvana, but I could feel that once you can focus on just your breaths, it's not much farther to be able to focus on nothing. And that I never got to take that next step, but you can see how these types of practices help us relax. It's just the way to get the mind and the body to calm and focus and lead you to sleep, which is, sleep is medicine. When we talk about all the things that it does, it's literally the most powerful medicine you can take every single day. What other medicine repairs the tissues of your heart, your organs, your brain, makes your mind sharper and clearer, helps you live a longer, healthier life? It's the miracle drug. So anything that can get you to that state of relaxation and get you focused or unfocused enough to fall asleep is a good thing.
Yeah, that's why they say you can live longer without food, but not without sleep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's your take on melatonin gummies? They are getting very popular in India, and during my visit to the States, I saw a lot of companies are coming up with their sleep gummies, melatonin gummies, or happy sleep, like very fancy packaging. What's your take on them?
Yeah, so regardless of gummy or pill or whatever, so melatonin does work for many people. The caution is it should be used like all sleeping tablets. It's not a cure. It is a way to alleviate a temporary problem. So I take melatonin, but I only take it for very specific reasons. Jet lag.
Okay.
So right now I'm on the other side of the world from where I'm normally at.
Yeah.
So it will take time for my circadian rhythms to fully synchronize.
And it's okay to have a pill of melatonin to fix your jet lag?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Because I'm
that
using
much
it
is fine.
short term. What happens is my rhythm is now completely reversed. The sun is telling me that it's nighttime or daytime, and my body is telling me, no, it's the exact opposite. And so that first night that I'm here, so when I arrived in Singapore that first night, when I'm supposed to be falling asleep back at home, it's daytime and my body's like, I can't. So I will take melatonin the first or sometimes first and second night to help reset my circadian rhythm and then make sure I get that sun that next morning.
Okay.
But I can't, you should not take it every night because eventually it's unlike a sedative that you can become habit forming. This could start to lose its effect. And so people either keep taking it and it just has no effect, and then you lose the ability to use it when you might need it for something like jet lag.
Does it really work, melatonin? I'm talking about melatonin. Does it really work or is it more like a placebo?
That's a great question. It seems like the research seems to indicate for many people it really does work. But there is no way to get around that also for many people the placebo effect is extremely real. So it may be both. For my youngest son, it works too well. Like if he takes melatonin, it knocks him out. For me, it works very well for jet lag. For my wife, it does nothing. So different people do respond differently.
Okay.
And yes, placebo effect is a very real thing. So if my wife, she's a little skeptical in general, which is probably why she's so smart. She questions everything. But if she wasn't skeptical and she took it and found that it made her, she might be, succumb to the placebo effect. And I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Talking about that, I remember that once my husband was struggling, like he wanted to fixate his sleep cycles. So he told me that I'm going to get melatonin tablets and that can only help me to fix my cycles. And I was like totally against it, that why do you need to have a pill, fix other things in life? So what he did, he actually got a bottle of melatonin and he kept it on his bedside. And since that day, I think he's just getting into sleep just like that. So that's like a next level placebo.
Yes, he's got like a crutch that he knows he can use, but he doesn't need to.
But he doesn't need to, yeah. Okay, this may sound a little unexpected, but is there a science behind cuddling or skin contact before going off to sleep? Does it help or makes it better?
Yes, absolutely. And, the research is not... It's not the vast amounts of research like we see with some of these, fancy sleep disorders. But what we are learning more and more is, yes, that human touch, that companionship, it helps everything from decrease your blood pressure, right? Calms the mind. So anything that can do that is only going to help your sleep. We have an epidemic in many societies right now of loneliness, right? Where people feel isolated, and they may even be surrounded by family, but feel isolated in their own little world. People too detached from each other because they live in a screen as opposed to living in the now. And so, yes, I'm a huge advocate for that human touch. For sleep awareness, earlier this year, ResMed, this will be very relevant for India, the home of the Kama Sutra. We published the Sleep Sutra, which were just silly little positions where you could be with your bed partner while wearing CPAP. And it was silly, it was tongue-in-cheek, but to remove the stigma that, yes, you should be cuddling, you should be close to your loved one if you share a bed with someone that you love, because that's only good for you. It's only healthy. It's good for your sleep. It's good for your soul. That human touch, that interaction is good for every part of your health and your well-being, mental health as well. When you feel safe and loved and secure, yes, our body has hormonal and neurotransmitter reactions to that make us feel more comfortable and relaxed. It's sort of the opposite of the dopamine hit that you get when you play a slot machine or scroll through a TikTok feed. That's the dopamine hit that excites you.
Yes.
It's the exact opposite, where it's we're no more dopamine. Now it's time to relax. It's time to calm the brain and the body. So absolutely yes. And the research that continues to show that it's important.
Now, before we wrap, let's do a quick rapid fire.
Okay.
I'll ask a few very common questions and you give us your quick, sharp answers. Are we ready for that?
Will do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. There's a very popular saying, if your goals let you sleep, your goals are not big enough. What would you like to say on that?
I guess then your goals are to die a premature death from some crazy comorbidity. You know what? Everyone's biggest goal should be to prioritize themselves, right? Self-care, your health. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the most important thing you have. You can't be a good person, a good husband, wife, father, brother, employee, leader, if you haven't prioritized yourself. And so the biggest goal that everyone should have is to take care of your mind and your body. So if your goals are preventing you from sleeping, I would say it's not that your goals aren't big enough. Your goals are wrong. You're prioritizing the wrong things.
Exactly. Very true. We talk about self-love a lot, and this is the simplest and form of self-love, like bare minimum that you can do for yourself, and your body will thank you later.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Red flags of sleep. Like, when does it move from just a bad sleep to a real sleep problem?
I would say the frequency. If you have a few bad nights here and there, or one bad night here or there, that's usually okay. India actually reports some of the highest satisfaction with their sleep. I think it was,
wow.
I think it was about 8 out of 10 Indians felt that they got at least 4 good nights of sleep every week, which is great. One of the highest response rates in the world. But it also means that 3 nights a week, on average, they're not getting good sleep. So for me, it's the increased frequency.
Okay.
One night here or there, it happens to all of us. But if you are struggling night after night after night, that's the red flag. Where I thought India scored a little lower than other countries is, I think it was 41% of Indians said that their bed partner had issues that affected their sleep. So snoring or restless legs or whatever. And 42% of Indians have had either a limited or a full-time sleep divorce, meaning they sleep in a separate room or in a separate bed from their partner because of their partner's sleep issues. You're still
divorce.
Married, but you sleep in different rooms
Oh.
because of snoring or restless legs or insomnia. Your partner is not allowing you to sleep, so you sleep in a different
Sleep
room.
divorce.
We call it a sleep divorce. And 42% of Indians responded that either temporarily or full-time,
My God, that's
they would sleep separate.
unbelievable.
That was a pretty high one for me. You know what? You may have perfect testosterone levels and no erectile dysfunction, but if your loved one is sleeping in another side of the house because they can't stand your snoring, that's also sexual dysfunction. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is. Oh my God. Maybe because in India, getting a divorce is still a taboo, which is why sleep divorce is so much higher.
yeah, it's easier to just go to the other side of the
Yes,
house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you need a sleep divorce from your dog.
That's really difficult. I wish I could. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, we love our animals like family. So I get it. I get
More
it.
than me, it's going to get difficult for him.
Oh,
Which is something I don't want. Okay. So for people using gadgets and technology like Aura rings and bands and Apple watches, what sleep data they should pay attention to? What are the metrics they should really consider?
that one's a tricky question, and I'll tell you why. If you focus too much on all of these numbers and you don't really know what you're looking for, it can actually make your sleep worse.
Okay.
It is a documented disorder, if you want to call it that, where people who track their sleep too closely make their sleep worse because they start to fixate on numbers and things that they may not be able to control or that they may not fully understand. And so what I say is, yes, and again, I'm the one wearing two trackers that both track my sleep. What I tell people is just look at the superficial numbers. Make sure you are getting that good sleep hygiene. I'm going to bed at 10, waking up at 6 or 7 or whatever. And that if your tracker is documenting, yes, because like my Oura Ring will tell me when I got in bed, when I got out of bed, and also how many hours I was asleep. Focus on those things. Those things you can change. Those things you can fix, right? Once you fix those, all the other stuff, deep sleep, REM sleep, whatever, should fall right in line. And then if they don't, that's when you talk to your doctor. Don't get so fixated on the numbers in the tracker. Make sure you've got good, healthy sleep hygiene. And if it's still problematic for you, that's when you go seek help. And I give you my example. So I've only been wearing the Oura Ring about 6 months now. I got it just before the new year. And what I noticed was my deep sleep was almost always very, very low. And it was a problem not because, how do I make my deep sleep better? It was not that I needed to make my deep sleep better. It was that the night owl was going to bed way too late, still looking at my phone, waking up to her. Once I sorted all of that and I aligned my sleep to my chronotype, my deep sleep was fine. So I could have just ignored that and just focused on fixing my sleep hygiene, and I would have been fine. So that's what I would suggest. Don't fixate on little individual things you can't change.
Right.
Go to bed when you should, wind down, relax, wake up when you should, go see the sun, don't drink caffeine. All those simple little things are so much more important.
And I think that's the reason some people, even with 5 hours or 6 hours of sleep, feel much better than those who remain in the bed for 8 hours, 9 hours, but still feel groggy after waking up.
Yeah.
That must be the reason, right?
Yeah. And there is also good research that shows if you stay in bed too long, 9 hours or more, it's a sign of more illness. So the longer you stay in bed beyond 9 hours, the more sick you are, and their life expectancy is shorter.
The same study is also done with exercise. The more time you spend in the gym, you're not being as productive in the gym. Like you're not actually doing anything. You're just, because you're getting the feeling of satisfaction that I spent an hour at gym or 2 hours at gym, whereas you literally did 30 minutes of workout, but you got all that endorphin rush that, I spent that much of time, but you really did nothing. So instead of spending hours in the gym, just go do your workout, come back. Don't use your phone and don't use your, chit-chatting and everything. That should be out of, when you're outside the gym. And interestingly, there is entirely opposite study when it comes to food. You should ideally spend more time with your meal, because people these days, they quickly, they hurry up when they eat their food and then they finish up everything in like 5 minutes, 7 minutes, and they'll be done.
Yes.
Whereas you should be spending more time with your food so that you get a feeling that, I've had enough.
Yes, absolutely. You're so right. Savoring, first of all, especially when you're in a place like India where the food is so good, right? And so flavorful, you should be enjoying your meal. Savor that. And plus, meal times are often where we gather with our friends, our family, our loved ones. It's an excellent opportunity to begin the winding down at the end of the day. So savor the food, because yes, you tend to eat less. You will digest the food more effectively and less likely to have the indigestion that might be keeping you up at night, or the heartburn, or the reflux that may be keeping you up at night. So absolutely. And yes, being much more effective when you do exercise, and not just making sure that it's not just, I'm going to the gym and lifting weights or doing strength training. You need to do cardio. You need to do strength. You need to do stretching. You need to stretch your mind with relaxation and things like that. That's why, yoga is so good, because it's exercise, but it's also relaxing. I've never sweat so much as I have during doing certain types of yoga, even though you're not moving very much. So that it's great exercise for you, but
Hot
it's also, no, not even hot yoga, like poses that are challenging for me and I start to sweat. But it's also so calming for the mind. So yes, I totally agree. Making exercise more efficient, making sleep more efficient, but then savoring things like meals, savoring the time with your family, savoring that wind down, savoring those few minutes looking at the sun in the morning.
Yeah.
Slow down just a little bit. Life is too short to rush
Yes.
through everything.
We are slowing down at the wrong places right now.
Yes.
Slowing down with our phones, slowing down in bed, and rushing when it comes to food, rushing when it comes to the real things of life.
Yes.
Not absorbing sunlight, not spending time with our loved ones. So that's where we should not rush, ideally.
Yes.
That reminds me, it was supposedly a rapid fire round.
Oh, yeah, there goes for the rapid fire.
If someone wants to fix their circadian rhythm, where should they start?
Start with the sun. The circadian rhythms are completely dictated by the sun.
Yeah.
Start with the sun. Get sun in the morning, and then make sure you make your room dark at night.
Best way to handle jet lags.
There are two schools of thought. The one that probably works the best is to slowly adjust your clock to where you're going. So if you know that you're going to change 5 time zones, over the course of a couple of weeks, slowly shift your sleep and wake up time so that you move to that time zone by the time you get there.
Okay.
That's not always easy to do. We have jobs, we have lives. I can't all of a sudden start sleeping like I'm in London when I'm actually living and working in San Diego. But this is the best way to slowly shift your circadian rhythm temporarily. Doesn't work for everyone. The other best way is to try and do similar to what I do. When you get to your location, as quickly as possible, try and reset your circadian rhythm. Use the sun, use whatever reasonable means to get to sleep when you need to at night. For me, it's melatonin. For others, it may be just wearing a mask or doing some relaxation, those sorts of things. But those are the two ways.
There's another hack I would like to add to this. Just like sun, I just read this somewhere. I have never tried it myself, but maybe you can try it once you reach back. When you land in a different country, which is like far away from where you were, walk on the soil, on the ground, barefoot. And that will help you create that connection with the earth, and that kind of helps fix your circadian rhythm of that with that time zone. So I don't know whether it works, it really works or not, but maybe you can.
Yeah.
get it right.
So I don't know, but I will say this. There is very good research that shows when you spend time in nature, it has very positive effects on your health. Even just a few minutes every day, walking through a park or walking through the woods, it affects your blood pressure. I mean, literally, they can see blood pressure go down just spending a few moments in nature. So I'm not surprised, by taking your shoes off and walking barefoot through the grass, it may not be any sort of magical connection to the earth. It may literally just be that you've taken the time to slow down and to do something very deliberate and to connect with nature and in a way, relax. Again, going back to that, centering yourself, relaxing, making the troubles, go away so that you can focus on sleep or enjoy a nice meal.
That's so true. People in Japan swear by this. Like they do take out time to spend some time with nature, walk barefoot, walk in the woods. They are very particular about it. And hence, I think the health index of Japan is so high.
Yes. No, so my preferred exercise is to run. When I travel like crazy, sometimes I don't get to run as much as I'd like, but I cannot run on a treadmill in a gym. I cannot run on a sidewalk or on the street. I have to run in nature on a trail. And I'm lucky near my home, there's a park with trails, and that's what I do when I'm home. And it's not really a difference between running on a treadmill or running on a trail, but the nature. And I think it's being in the sun, breathing fresh air, seeing plants. Every once in a while, there's little animals that might scurry by. It's that connection to the nature that I think makes it so enjoyable for me, because running can be quite a chore. And if you're just on a treadmill staring at a wall in the gym, doesn't seem very fulfilling or natural or centering.
Exactly. I think it's not as good for your knees also as running in the nature is.
Yes. Yeah.
Does running help in getting better sleep?
So all exercise does, just don't do it late in the day. You don't, because exercise does increase your heart rate and it makes you hot, you sweat. You don't want to do that at the end of the day. I've made that mistake every once in a while. This is going to sound really silly, but this is how techie I can be. I have VR goggles, right?
Okay.
And sometimes when I know I'm not going to be able to run or work out and I'm traveling, I might travel with them because there's a workout app that I do in the VR goggles. It's silly, but I do it.
So you do that live workout with a trainer? Is it something like that?
Something like that, but it's not, the trainer's not live, but it's an app called Superhuman.
Okay. Ultrahuman.
Yeah, one of them is, there's a ring called Ultrahuman.
Ultrahuman.
And then there's an app called Superhuman. One of those two.
Okay.
And the trainer is there. And what happens is targets come at you. And with your hands, you either punch them or swipe at them, right?
Okay. While sitting.
Sitting or standing.
Okay.
Yeah. And the good one, if you want to do the standing one, they'll also make you duck obstacles. And so it works on your core and things.
Oh, nice.
And
is
so
it really that challenging? Like, if you can call it a workout.
Oh, yes. I accidentally did it on hard mode once. And I had to stop because I thought I was going to.
Oh,
it was so strenuous.
Really?
I'm like, I can't. It was that strenuous. But I've done it a couple of times at the end of a long day, and I get all my workout, and then I take a shower, and I'm lying in bed, and I'm so excited I can't fall asleep. So yes, all workouts are good. All exercises. Find what you like. Find what you will do, because the best exercise is the exercise you're willing to do. Right? If you sign up for a gym but you hate it and you're never going to use it, that's the worst exercise for you.
Absolutely.
But don't do it at night. Do it earlier in the day. And mornings are the best. Get that sun and do that exercise in the morning. And that's been shown to be the most beneficial for healthy sleep.
Yes, that's so true. I'll tell you what I do. I mean, I've not been getting time in the morning to go for my workouts, and I've been skipping it for the same reason, which I didn't want to. So I started going in the evening. But now that I understand right after my exercise, like later in the late evenings and then going to bed is not going to help me. So what I do is, just after my workout, I sit there for some time, do all my breathing and then pranayam and like 5-10 minutes of meditation right there, which I feel that switches my nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic mode, and then I go back home.
That's a perfect thing to do. Yeah, because that's probably the only way that you can overcome what late day exercise does. And too many people won't do that. They won't do the wind down, or they won't do the calming afterwards. So that's, if you have to work out afternoon into the evening, make sure you do something like your routine.
So transitioning so that I don't feel my blood pressure and everything settles down before I like go on.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for validating it.
Yeah.
Okay. If someone listening right now and struggling with sleep, what's the one thing you would want them to know?
If you've tried the simple sleep hygiene steps that we've mentioned and you're still struggling, talk to your doctor.
Great.
That's the most important thing, because for most people, the simple things we've talked about today should be very helpful. But if they're not, then there may be an underlying sleep disorder. Yeah. And the last thing you want to do is ignore that. Like I said, don't suffer for 25 years like I did, and maybe even waited who knows what I'm going to deal with later in life because I waited so long. Your health is too important, and sleep, like I said, it's the best medicine.
Yes, that's so true. Thank you for emphasizing it. I think it really needs all the attention. Sleep needs all the attention, which it's not getting right now. And that brings us to an end. And I think the entire conversation, all your insights were packed with so much value, science, insights. And I really appreciate you for breaking it down in such a relatable way.
Well, thank you very much. You made it very easy to have this conversation. As I said earlier, following you and your journey through health and wellness is inspiring to me, and obviously millions and millions of people around the world, including millions of Indians. So I hope this was useful for not just you and the podcast, but for all the people who listen.
I'm very sure. And to everyone tuning in, I hope the episode really helped you to rethink sleep. And if there was any key takeaway or a wow moment, please drop that in the comments below, because I would really love to know what stayed with you. Until next time, stay well, eat well, and sleep well.